So in this video we're going to walk through a spreadsheet exercise about the basics of spreadsheets, covering all the things we talked about in the previous video or the previous presentation. Hopefully this will help you understand how to do all the basic tasks that you need to know. So first of all, we need to start Excel. Now you might have, in some cases, an Excel icon on the desktop, which means that it's very easy to start Excel. But we're going to start it from the Start menu. Again, you might have Excel in the Start menu if you've used it before. If you haven't though, just like with Thunderbird, type in EXC and you'll get Excel float to the top of the menu. Okay, so that's how we start Excel, and probably want to maximize it. Now to do this exercise though, we need an exercise sheet, an activity sheet. So I'm just going to minimize this. The activity sheet is in the normal place inside Learner Resources, and it's inside the Functional Skills course, and then it's in a folder I've called Excel Sales Figures. And in there is a PDF file called Sales Figures, or it's got a longer name, but this is the file. So if you double click on that, Adobe Acrobat Reader should load. Now Adobe is a little bit annoying. Adobe Reader is a little bit annoying because it puts all this stuff down the side that gets in the way. So I'm just going to click on here and that'll make it kind of sort of disappear. Now I'm going to be highlighting things on the screen so that you know which bit I'm talking about. And we're probably going to do this video in several parts because we've got setup, and then later on data entry and calculations and changes, and then correcting errors, and also number formats. Is there anything else? Show formula as well. So that's 4 pages. So this would be quite a long video if we just did it in one. So I'm probably going to break it into 2 or 3, maybe even more. But that doesn't matter. It will still make sense. So following this sheet, we've already loaded the spreadsheet. And of course, we can click on Excel and click on the Adobe Acrobat Reader. Now it's up to you how you do this. But I would recommend having it the same as I do. Have Excel, have Adobe, just flick between them, and then you can follow what's happening better. So the first proper instruction, it says on the first row. So if you remember in the presentation and the other video we talked about rows and columns. So in the first row and the second column, enter the following headings right aligned. So there's quite a few things in there. There is first row, second column, right aligned. So what it's saying is Jan needs to go in the first row in the second column. So let's do that. So what we're going to do, Jan, Feb, March, total number, unit cost, amount. I might have to come back a few times because I don't think I'll remember all that. I remember Jan, Feb, March. So what was it again? First column or first row? I see, you've got to be careful. First row, second column. So first row is row 1. Second column though, so this is row 1, and second column is B. So there, B1. Reference B1. So I'm going to type Jan with capital letters, and then I'm just going to press the right arrow key to go to the next. But if you're not using computer, you might just have to click. So if you type in Jan, then you have to click in the next box, or click somewhere else at least first. And then when you want to go to the next one, click in there. So Feb and March. Now, one thing that's fun to know about is that if you type something, oops, didn't mean to do that. If you type something that looks like a month or a day or a number, quite often Excel will help you to do the series. So Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June. Yeah. Even if it's abbreviated like this, Jan, which is short for January. So what you do is you put your pointer in the bottom right corner of this box. And remember replicating, remember that word? Now we didn't talk about it much, but it's very useful. Replicating allows the computer or Excel to speed things up for you. So if we go to the bottom right hand corner and we think, actually we want Feb and March here, maybe the computer can figure that out for us. So we hold down the button and see, Feb appears and March, so it gives a little preview or a hint what we're going to get, and then you let go. Now we could have gone, if we were doing the whole year, it would let us do that, and it would even go on to the next year. So that's quite useful if you're doing lots of repetitive things. That is why spreadsheets exist. They speed up repetitive tasks. Anyway, what was the other bits I need to put in? Total number, unit cost, amount. Total number, unit cost, and amount. So as you can see, the cells, the columns aren't wide enough here and here. So we're just going to tidy that up a little bit. They're wide enough here. They're too wide maybe here, but we'll leave them for now. So we hold down the button and you can see you can change the width. And hold down the button, change the width. If you're using a mobile or a tablet, yeah, it can be quite tricky. You might have to do a double tap. Okay, so let's have a look what the next instruction says. So I've done those 6 things. The next instruction says, in the first column, starting on the second row, enter the following names. So you can see why it made us do that, because why we didn't put things in the first column is because we're going to put some things here. So now, if you're clever, you might be able to copy and paste this to save time. So I'm going to try this. Sometimes this works from PDF, sometimes it doesn't. So copying, right-clicking, copying. Let's see what happens. I'm going to right-click and paste. Now, paste options on Excel sometimes give you lots of options here, but this one only gives me one. Keep text only. That's good. That makes it simple. Sometimes though you might have to try more than one way of doing it until you get the way that doesn't make a mess. Maybe we'll see that in a minute. So again, I've pasted it. That did work. So anything you can do to save time. So I'm going to just make this a bit wider as well. There we go. And that looks looking quite neat. So, now I missed something out here. So you have to be careful that you don't miss things out. So we've got a totals here, but you can see there is a kind of a gap between Andrews and monthly totals. So I'm going to type this in this time. So that one's much wider, so I'm going to make this much wider as well. So you should always be thinking about how things look. Don't just assume that the computer's going to do things for you. If something isn't looking right, you should fix it. You're the smart one. You're the human. Okay, so we've nearly finished page 1. Page 2 is data entry. So again, I might try to cheat here and do some copying and pasting, if it'll let me. So, nah, this isn't going to work, is it? Maybe I can do this though. I can copy those. Might work, it might not. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to try and paste here because that is the first, the top left one, let's say. It's the first item. It goes for Jan Kent. Yeah. So I'm going to paste into here. No, it didn't work. See, you can't always paste things. So I'm going to have to type them in manually probably. That's a little bit annoying. So 5500, 5800, 6500. This is time consuming. 5500, 5800, 6500. Oops. It doesn't really matter too much what these numbers are. So these are all 6,000, so that's nice and easy. I don't really care if you made up your own numbers here. It wouldn't really matter for this exercise. But when you do the exam, obviously, it does matter. 6,300, 6,300, 6,350. So that's quite easy to remember. 6,300, 6,300, 6,350. Now, if you were doing this and you're listening to the video at the same time, you could just listen to my name, listen to my voice. So Roberts now is next. 4,500, 4,750, 5,000. So it's going up by 250 each time. So I can kind of remember that. If I start at 4,500, add 250, and add another 250. Then they've got strange. 6,500, 7,000, 5,000. 6,500, 7,000, oops, 7,000, 5,000. And the last one is Andrews. 51, 48, 49, 50. 5,100, 4,800. 49.50. Then we mustn't forget though there are unit costs here. So these are sales figures. So I'm not sure what we're selling here. It's just imaginary stuff. And 35. Each item has a particular cost by the looks of it. Now that may be the cost to sell it, or it might be the cost to buy it. Anyway, so 3.5, 3.5, 3, 4, 4, and 3. So that's quite easy to remember, I think. Now you got to make sure that you put it in the right column, not in the total, not in the amount. 3.5, 3.5. What was it again? 3, 3, 4. I can't remember. 3, 4, 4, 3. 3.0, 4.0. Now, do you notice what's happening when we put in these numbers? When they are whole numbers, something wrong here, isn't there? That's not right. 3, 4, 4, 3. Oh, yeah, that one should be 3. So when we put in these fractional numbers, like 3.5, it's giving us 3.5 properly. But when we put in these, even though we put in 3.0 or 4.0, it changed them to remove the decimal places because the computer thinks it knows better. But it looks a little bit unusual now. It looks inconsistent. So this is what we talk about when we mean number formats. This and this are different number format to this. This is formatted as integers, whole numbers, whereas this is formatted with one decimal place because there is one number after the dot. These two have one number after the dot. So we've already done this. Adjust the width of the columns if necessary to display all the data in full. We already did that as we were going. So it tells you this because this is an exercise from another course, but in that other course, it was very much more telling you what to do. In this course, you're expected to do things without being told so much. Add your name a few rows below the end of the table. So remember, in this course, you have to make sure you put your name on everything, as long as it's somewhere. So, oops. There we go. There's my name. I put a few rows below. We will look at headers and footers though later. Now the next thing is calculations using formula and functions. So what's the difference between a formula and a function? A formula is any calculation. Even 1 plus 1 is a formula, or A1 plus B1. Functions are a bit more complicated. They use built-in functions, basically. Functions are little mathematical black boxes that you can put numbers into and an answer will come out. But we will see how they work. We'll use basic functions such as sum, average, minimum and maximum. So we're going to use a formula to calculate the total number for each person. So if we go back to the spreadsheet, the total number for each person, what that means is for Kent, we would add up these three numbers and we want the answer to that formula to appear here. Same goes for Woods. We want the answer to go here. So add up these three numbers and go here. Now if you was using a calculator, you could do this quite easily. You can just get out a calculator here off the computer if you want to. And you could just go 5500, we're doing Kent, plus 5800 plus 6500. And we get the answer, 17,800. So we would want that answer to go here. But the problem is, let's say later on we find out that actually Kent didn't sell that much in January. He sold 6,500. That would mean that we would have to manually recalculate this with the calculator again and work it out and then type it back in. And we might forget to do that. And so these totals could be wrong. And this is why people use spreadsheets. And this is why people don't use the calculator, except sometimes to check their own work. So I'm going to close that. This is where formulas come in now. Formulas allow you to calculate things, yes, but also depend on the computer to remember to recalculate things even if you change the numbers that the calculation uses. So the calculation is going to be using these numbers here, and I'll demonstrate this now. So if we do equals, and then we're going to add up this, B2. So all I did is I clicked on it, and we put a plus. So it's kind of like doing the same as the calculator. Instead of putting 5500 though, we put the place where the 5500 comes from. So the 5500 comes from B2. Then I've put plus, and then I put where 5800 comes from, which is C2, and then obviously D2. Now I'm clicking on them, but you can also type them in if you want to. So I'm going to type in this one, D2, and you can see it lights it up just the same. So you can see exactly what we're calculating because the colours help us see what goes where. And then we should get the same answer as the calculator gave us, 17,800 was it? I can't remember, 17,300 I guess. 800 was, oh, sorry. Okay, so when we click back on it, you can see the formula is here. And we're not going to change that, so I'm just going to press escape. You have to be careful not to accidentally change it. Remember, you can always undo things though. Remember the friendly, helpful undo. But the the cool thing, or the good thing, or the best thing about spreadsheets is that if we had changed this number to 6500, watch what happens when I press enter or click somewhere else. This number here in the total should go up by another 1,000. It should become 18,800 because I've added 1,000 more to Kent's January figure. So I just click somewhere else and you can see it changes. So I don't have to remember to calculate that. The computer did it for me. I'm going to just put it back now to 5,500 and the computer will change this back. There we go. Now, what I did there was I used simple arithmetic. I used plus. Now this is fine for just 3 numbers, but if I was going to add up a huge set of numbers like 300, I would have to go B2 plus C2 plus D2 plus E2 plus F2 plus G, and it's going to get really, well, it's going to get boring and also take a long time, and I'm probably going to make a mistake. I'm probably going to miss one out or do one twice or do something silly. Pick one that doesn't even, pick one off a different row or column that shouldn't even be there. So, to make it easier to add up lots of numbers, Excel and other spreadsheets provide a function. The function is called sum. Okay, so I'm going to just delete this. And the sum function is quite easy to use, but you have to get used to the what we call the syntax, the sequence that you have to put things in. So every time you do a calculation, doesn't matter whether it's with a function or a formula, you must start with equals. That tells the computer, I want to do a calculation, I want to figure something out, I want to do something with some maths. So what we do is we type in the word sum. Now I'm showing you this the more difficult way probably, but it's better to do it this way because you understand what's happening. If you don't understand what's happening, you can't use your knowledge to use it in different places and different situations. So I've typed the word sum. Sum is the function name. As you can see, lots of other functions, you see little fx things come up, lots of other functions have come up, like SUMIF and SUMIFs and SUMPRODUCT. They're much more complicated ones. In fact, I don't know what these ones at the bottom do. I know what SUMPRODUCT does, I know what SUMIFs does, SUMIF, but I don't know what SUMSQ or SUMX2 My2 or Pi2. There may be some kind of statistical or geometric function. I'm not a mathematician, so I don't know. We're just using sum anyway, which is fairly simple. So don't worry about all these ones that come up, just ignore them. But whenever you use a function, the thing that comes after the function name will always be open brackets or open parentheses. Because inside brackets goes the numbers or the cell references that you want the function to use, what you want it to process. So we want it to process these 3 here, B2, C2, D2. Now, the thing is, I'm going to delete that. The thing is, if we had to put them all in just like using plus, we're still going to make a mistake. So what functions allow you to do quite often is enter a range. So we use something called a range, and those are called range functions. So a range function will let you put in the start and the end of a set of numbers. So the start of this set of numbers is B2. Okay, so I'm going to click on it, B2. But if we want to use a range, we have to put a colon. So that's 2 dots. Don't worry about the B2 that's come up there. I don't know why that's happened actually. Let's try that again. So I click on B2, put a colon. That's strange. That's better. Maybe because I was pointing to B2. So be careful where you're pointing. It doesn't matter anyway. If B2 comes up, we just delete it. Where's the end of the range then? So we want January, February, and March for the salesperson Kent. So the March figure is D2. And you can see that the spreadsheet, the Excel has highlighted the range. And we just close the brackets. And that's all there is to it. Press enter or click somewhere else. 17,800. Same as we had before. And the same thing will happen if we try to, if we change the number, it should automatically change the total here. Yes, it works. So I'm going to undo that. Now, what I want to do next is do the total for all the other people. So how do I do it? Equals sum, open brackets, and then I did it a different way here. What did I do? I highlighted them. So I didn't have to type them in. I just highlighted the numbers. So you can do it that way as well. And you can see it puts the cell references, the range into here. So close it, and we still have it. And so this should come up as 18,000 because that's easy to work out. 6,000 plus 6,000 plus 6,000, 18,000. Right. So there's the two different ways. You can type things in manually, equals sum, B2 to D2, or equals sum, not dumb, D sum, that's something different. And we open the brackets, but then just highlight and close brackets. Easy. Now, the other thing, imagine we had hundreds and hundreds of numbers, hundreds of salespeople. If we had a big list of them that went down like this, we wouldn't want to have to keep typing in the sum function for everyone. So earlier you saw when I did January, February, March, I used something called replication to save myself some work and save myself making errors as well. Because again, the more you have to type in, the more possibilities you're going to make errors. So I'm going to delete this one. So all we have to do is the first one. And as long as we're sure that we have the formula for the first one right, the computer can help us do all the other ones using replication. So if you remember, we go to the bottom right hand corner and the pointer will change to this black cross here. If it changed to this one, that's not the right type. You don't want that. So we go to the black cross and hold down the button and drag. Now, it doesn't really matter if you go too far. If you go one past, all you're going to get is a 0 in the last one. But can you see what happened? It worked out all the answers for all of them. And if we look into the box for Andrews, so Andrews should be adding up B7 to D7. And look, that's what it's done. It's got B7, D7, exactly what we expect. So that's the basics of how formulas and functions work. We just don't need this number, do we? So delete that. So let's move on to the next step. We've done part A, total number for each person. The next part B, is the amount, the amount, total number times unit cost. Total number times unit cost. So it doesn't say for each person, but we should assume that, I think. So the amount is total number times unit cost. So times here. So total number times unit cost. So we're going to multiply this number by this number to work out Kent's amount. So there's no function for this, it's just multiplication. Equals. So we want this number, E2. Now you might think that multiplication is X. It's not, because X is just X. In computers, the symbol for multiply is always asterisk or star, some people call it. Proper name is asterisk. You'll find it on the 8 key. You'll have to use shift. If you've got a tablet or a phone, you will have to use the keyboard shift options and symbol options. So anyway, we want to multiply this by F2. So the answer should come out at something like 56,000, something like that, maybe. A bit more than that, I think. 3.5, so it's going to be more than that. It's going to be 60-something thousand, I'm guessing. So there we go, 62,300. So that was just really multiplying 17,800 by 3.5. And we can check this if you're not convinced. If you go on your calculator, so 17,800, and you can see on the calculator, look, it has a little star as well. Times 3.5 equals 62,300. So that should give you confidence that this first one is right. So therefore you can replicate, and there we go. All the other ones are done. And just to be sure, check the last one. For Andrews, it should be E7 times F7. Let's have a look. What did it say? It says E7 times F7. So you know it's done it right. Next one says a total for each month. Aha, total for each month. What does that mean though? So here's January, that's 1 month. Here's February, that's another month. Here's March, that's another month. So a total for each month would go here, wouldn't it? Because we have a monthly totals. Okay. So how do we add up all these numbers? Well, as we said before, we could do plus plus plus. We could do B2 plus B3 plus B4. Or we can use the sum function. So equals sum. And can you guess what it's going to be? It's going to be B2 to B7. So I'm going to use the highlight method, but you can type it in if you want to. B2, B7. And you can see it's typed it in for you. Don't forget to close the brackets though. Press enter. 33,900. Now I could do the same thing for this one and the same thing for this one. But if I've already got this one right, this here adds up these. So we want this to be adding up these and this to be adding up these. That's a kind of pattern. So we should be able to get the computer to do this for us using replication again. Now, the replication we've done before has been downward, but there's nothing to stop you going across as well. So as long as there is a pattern. So we know this is done. If we want it done for this and this, we grab this corner and just scoot across 2 cells. There we go. So our sales figures are Not varying too much. They're staying about the same each month. Our monthly totals for all of the salespeople are hovering around 34,000. And now we're going to save the document with the file name Q1 Sales. So I'm going to make a folder to put this in first though. So I'm going to go into here, going to go into my folder called John, and I'm going to create a new folder called Excel Practice. You can call it whatever you want. Oops. My typing is getting worse. And then I'm just going to close that. Go back to Excel and save as in my John Excel Practice. And what was it called? Q1 Sales. Save. So we're going to end the video there because this is quite a long video, and we'll finish the other 2 pages in the next video. This is what you should end up with at the end of this part of the exercise.